I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, whoa, whoa. Effort ang bil kurban ready. Whoa, whoa. Effort ang bil kurban ready. I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, whoa, whoa. Effort ang bil kurban ready. Whoa, whoa. Effort ang bil kurban ready.
Good evening and welcome to Between the Lines, presented to you by Live Wire Sports. Tonight on the show, our guest will be Sports Park and Recreation Commissioner, Mr. Calvert White. Calvert, how are you doing today? All right, we have some connection problems. All right, Calvert, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, man. Still here in the office, trying to get some work done, but I'm good.
That's good. Hard work is better than anything else, right?
I wouldn't call it hard work. I love what I do. So, I always tell people when you love what you do, it's not really considered work.
You're right. So we heard that you're excited to be on the show today. So this should be a good segment coming up for the people that are viewing right here on our Facebook page.
Listen, I have always loved what Live Wire does. I've never told you guys publicly, but, you fill a void in the community that, a lot of departments, including mine, don't have, where you bridge the gap between the athlete and the community, and you kind of highlight those people. So I love what you guys doing, and I'm a big supporter.
Thank you very much. And that's how we love the fact that people appreciate what we're doing, but we're doing it all for the children at the end of the day. As long as they're pleased, as long as we help them, that's all that matters to us.
Continue doing, man. The Department of Sports Park and Recreation is a big supporter of what you guys do. I share a lot of the stuff that you guys put out in the media. I share it to our Facebook page. So I see it as like a behind the scenes partnership, but maybe in the future we need to do more things together.
All right, we could definitely work on that. All right, Calvert, Mr. White, how long have you been the Commissioner of Sports Park and Recreation?
I'm now in my year and a half. I was dubbed the commissioner in the new administration under Governor Albert Bryan Jr. So it's been a year and a half at the helm. It's had its challenges, but again, I love what I do, and I don't have any complaints.
All right, so what was your previous job or your previous rank before you were the commissioner?
So fortunately, prior to taking over as helm, I was the assistant commissioner in the St. Thomas St. John district. So moving to the commissioner, although it was a step up, it was something that I was comfortable with. I didn't really have to relearn the position. There was more responsibilities that was given to me as the commissioner, but moving in from assistant commissioner, a lot of the duties are basically the same. You're just at the head now, and you get more to blame for the department.
Right. Now, can you explain some of your daily routine as the commissioner, or what do you do every day or on a general day? Because we know you have a busy schedule.
Yeah, so the biggest change between assistant commissioner and commissioner is that as the assistant commissioner, you're kind of involved in the day-to-day operations of the department. My assistant commissioners on both islands, they kind of run, from what happens between 8 until our fields are closed in a day. My job really is more on an administrative level. I am trying to make sure that these guys have, the funding that they need to have to run the programs. Employees. I'm basically, for lack of a better word, the glue that helps the department run the way that it's supposed to run. Or I ensure that we have the tools necessary to complete our mandate.
Now we have this thing out in the air going around, COVID-19. How has it directly impacted your department?
It practically brought this department to its knees. Anyone that is looking to see what's going on around the world when it comes to sports, it's clearly that COVID-19 basically brought the majority of sporting events or sporting organizations to a halt. I mean, let's be honest. When you compete in sports, you're basically having physical contact, or you're in close proximity with people. And one of the things that we know that COVID-19 spreads is by close proximity. That's why you try to keep the social distancing and whatnot. There's no way to play a contact sport by social distancing. So we basically had to halt a lot of our programs and activities that we run.
With you at the helm of Sports Park and Recreation, what direction or where do we plan to see Sports Park and Recreation in the near future and possibly the far future?
Well, I could tell you, Shaq, my number one priority right now is getting these FEMA projects started and completed. Our facilities for a long time and before me, and I'm at the helm right now, so it's my responsibility, and I take full responsibility for that. But at some point, we have to get our facilities back up to playing level, where we have people, not just local people, but people from afar and away that want to come to compete and use our facilities. If we have a facility that's depleted and are unable to use, it's serving no purpose to us. So my number one priority right now, like I said, is getting our FEMA projects going and completed.
Now, we spoke about the COVID, and the biggest elephant in the room, the question that everybody on St. Thomas that cares about sports wants to know: when will the parks and facilities open back up?
Shaq, I wish I could answer that question. I will tell you this, and I know the governor is it's sports minded. I go to the different games, whether it's basketball, baseball, and he's at the facilities, he's at the ballparks. But let's be honest with each other. We know that this virus is serious. It's claimed a lot of lives. It's claimed lives here in the territory. So while we want to see sports back up again, at no point do we want to put anyone at risk. The Department of Health and the CDC is the lead when it comes to opening facilities and whatnot. So I am following their guidance. I know that my staff is going to do some training next week, actually tomorrow, on COVID-19 and, identifying different signs and different precautionary things that we want to put in place to make sure that we kind of contain or prohibit the spread of COVID-19. But to give you an exact date of when the parks are going to open, I don't know that. Like I said, I'm following the professionals. I'm not a professional, but I will say that my staff is as eager as everyone else to open up these facilities once it's safe.
And that goes for your parks and all your other facilities. Can you share with us all the properties or all the parks facilities that are in possession of Sports Park and Recreation?
You want me to list all of them?
If you could.
Let me get a sheet. It's quite a few.
Just so the viewers can know exactly which parks are closed, which facilities are closed, and those kind of things. Because people aren't sure sometimes which ones you guys are in charge of, and would try to use those, whether it's a weightlifting facility, a field, Griffith Bar Park, for example, the basketball court. So just share with them exactly which parks are under the possession of Sports Park and Recreation.
So we don't own any weight facilities. We have some facilities within our centers and whatnot. But for the time being, all parks, playgrounds, community centers under the jurisdiction of Sports Park and Recreation is now temporarily closed unless we get further word from the CDC or the health department that we are cleared to opening and we get clear guidelines. On St. Thomas, we have the Alvin McBean Recreational Complex, Joseph O'Bain Ballpark, Emil Griffith Park, Friedenhoy Ballpark and Basketball Court, the Frenchtown Tatlot, Corin Terrace Ballpark and Basketball Court, Lionel Smut Richards Ballpark, Lionel Roberts Stadium, Nada Basketball, Winston Ramos Center and Basketball Court. You have the Sabes Paddleball and Tennis. You have the Bodo Milton Newton Court and Playground. You have the Smith Bay Tatlat, Dorothea Playground, and then you have the Cookie Beach facility. That's St. Thomas alone. Out of those facilities, we know that Cookie Beach is back open. The governor allowed the beaches to be back open. The Dorothea tennis facility, that is open. And the reason being is the CDC and the health department determined that tennis was a sport where individuals are not in close proximities with each other. You could play a tennis game and still show social distancing. So tennis was a sport that was allowed. Also, golf was allowed. So that facility is open. On St. Croix, you have the Reynold Jackson Rookie Complex, Rudy Krieger Recreational Complex, DC Canigata Complex, Isaac Boynes Ball Field, Terrence Martin, Pedro Cruz Ball Field, Emil Henderson Sports Courts, Glen Recreational Park, Horace Clark Recreational Park, La Valley Recreational Park, La Grande Princess Park, Mombiju Park, Campo Rico Park, Castle Bar Community Center, Estate Profit Community Center, Williams Delight Community Center. And again, all of those facilities are temporarily closed because of COVID-19. On St. Croix, and I don't want to forget St. Croix because I know my St. Jonian people are always telling me I'm forgetting St. John. Sorry. We have the Winston Well Ball Field that they currently have mud gloves on it. Oppenheimer, that's down by the beach. And then we have their basketball court also. The recreation center is also closed. And again, Shaq, like I said, my team and my staff is eager. We are excited to open back our facilities, but we don't want to put anybody at risk. So we want to make sure that it's safe first.
And that's just a good thing to let the public know exactly which ballparks, which facilities are closed, so that they're not looking forward to going there. People, they get the joy out of going to the parks, but at the end of the day, the call has been made where the commissioner says that it should not be open. Well, somebody else said it should not be open, and you agree with them based on their logistics and stuff like that. So we understand. We just wanted a bigger opening so you can announce it to us, and we know exactly what it is going on.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I've gotten a lot of calls from adults, and the cry is always, the governor has opened up restaurants, he's opened up bars. We even see that the clubs are open now. Why it is that the facilities for our children are not open. And my stance on that is I would never compare the actions of adults with those of children, or never compare the risk of that of adults with those of children. If an adult wants to take the risk and go to a restaurant or go to a bar, that's on them. But we are not willing to put our youth at risk for the sake of sports. We do understand, and I get it. I have a 15-year-old son who has been at home since COVID-19 also. He's been in the house. I get it, because we want to get our children out, get them involved. We know what idle minds do. But at the end of the day, our number one priority have to be the safety.
I definitely agree with that. Now, when the parks do eventually open up, what procedure or what cautions do you think we will have to have going forward?
So again, that is part of the issue why the parks have not opened. Remember now, the CDC is who sets out these guidelines. Department of Health sets out these guidelines of certain things that you have to put in place before you could even consider opening. We know that one of the things that they want is they want all of our centers to have the infrared thermometer scan. So, which means that anyone coming to our facilities are going to have to get, and I don't know if you've been at the airport, but all passengers coming in are usually scanned now with the infrared thermometer to test the temperature. Excuse me. We are going to have to now scan everybody that's using our facilities. And if your temperature is over that, I think is 104, we are not going to allow you into our facilities because then you're exuding a temperature. There's going to have to be some social distancing guidelines put in place. And again, that's difficult when it comes to sports, because how do you play a basketball game if you have to do social distancing? How do you play a baseball game if I'm telling you you have to stay 6 feet apart from each other? It's almost impossible. So there will be some guidelines. I'm sure there's going to have to be some procedures we put in place where it's going to have to be by appointments or schedules. We're going to have to do schedules where we allow a certain amount of, whether it's teams or organizations at any one point in our facilities. But again, we are still waiting for those guidelines. We know that the number of people is going to decrease. Griffith Park is a facility that have a lot of people on any given night. We are going to have to cut those numbers down where we say we allow no more than 50 people, and then they have to be spaced out. So we like I said, we're waiting for the guidelines, and once we get those guidelines, we're going to have to put them in place.
Right. Another big thing for sports park and recreation are the summer camps. It's summer right now. The sun blazing from spring, so we know summer is here. Do you have summer camps this summer?
We're not calling them summer camps. We're calling them summer programs. We have summer programs. A camp is something that you go to physically and you enjoy with your friends and whatnot. Unfortunately, again, because of COVID-19, we were unable to do our summer camps. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I want to expand on that a little more. We know for a fact that there were several camps on the mainland that tried to have summer camps. And they had children come to their facilities and whatnot. A week later, camps was finding out that half the camp was contracted COVID-19 and they had to shut down. Right. Again, I am not willing to put any one child life at risk. It's not worth it. So we made the decision not to have summer camps. My staff was very creative. We got together. We said, what can we do if we're not going to do in-person summer camps? What kind of activities we can do to try to get them to do stuff at home? And they came up with this virtual summer program. I will be the first to admit, when they told me about it, I was like, summer camp is something that, you want to go and play with your friends. You want to run around in the sun. You want to get tired before you go home and sleep. Within 24 hours of us releasing our applications, within 24 hours, we had back 74 of those applications. We started those programs Monday. It's been a success. I've gotten some calls from parents that their children enjoy it. It's not the same, and it's never going to be the same as an in-person summer camp. But at the end of the day, we're still trying to give them an alternative to have some kind of fun where they could be home and still engage in some kind of recreational activity.
Now, of those summer programs, what kind of summer programs are they?
So we started off, and I think it starts off at 9:00, which is dance. Right. We have an instructor that's doing dance, and she's doing beginners dance and intermediate dance. That started Monday. We also went on today, and like I said, from all intensive purposes, the feedback that I got from parents, it was a success. Their kids enjoyed it. The girls were allowed to watch on the live Zoom, and they were allowed to participate and follow along with the dance instructor. Following that, we had an arts and craft class, and yesterday was fun. They actually made slime at home. So we got the kids involved. They follow along with the instructor. They made like 3 different slime. And then we had another arts class, which deals with more sketching and drawing, that our teacher from BCB was able to join our team and do. And then we have some sports camps, and those are difficult because we know that when you're doing sports, you have to have the resources and maybe the facilities to actually do these. but we kind of catered it into doing more instructional stuff where you could stay at home and do these drills and whatnot. So we have a basketball camp. One of our employees, Kevin Shepard, is the one who's instructing that. That started again yesterday. Great results. We have a volleyball camp that's doing instructional stuff, showing them how to bump and set. And then we have a proposal that I just approved for a baseball camp, and it's a lot of fundamentals, the hitting, instructions, how you go through the zone and stuff. These are things that you could do by looking at the instruction and following. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be exciting.
All right, and where can our followers find more information about your summer programs that you have going on right now?
Sure. They can add us on Facebook, the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation. Like our page, follow along. A lot of our information is on there. As a matter of fact, all of our summer programs are streamed through Zoom, but we also do a live feed to our Facebook page. They can come into the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation to our offices, or you can call the department, both islands, on St. Thomas, 774-0255, and on St. Croix, 773-0160 for information. And we're happy to email you applications so you can register to join any one of our programs. It's not too late. We are not going to close these programs. So if you missed the first 4 weeks, you can still join the fifth week. All of our programs are free. We are not charging anything. We know that everybody's going through this COVID-19 together. We didn't want to hurt anybody's pocket anymore. So all of our programs are free. And as a matter of fact, what we did was, not an incentive, but as a reward, the first 50 people, 20 St. Thomas, 20 St. Croix, 10 St. John, that had signed up, and we didn't put this out there, the first 50 people that had signed up for our programs, the art programs, we decided to donate the materials for the 6 weeks to those individuals. So we wanted to help a little bit, but it's not too late to join any program, and we welcome anyone that wants to join.
Now, with COVID being here, that's an amazing thing to do, to find a way to get those interactive activities to the children. So definitely that was a great job by you and your staff with coming through with that virtual summer program.
Yeah, like I said, I was really worried of how the community was going to take it or accept it. Again, it's no way you could compare a virtual program with an actual in-person, in-live program. So we're not going to compare the two, but we found that we still wanted to give our youth an opportunity to still engage in some kind of recreational stuff. It's funny because I went online, and I don't know what made me do this. I did this after our program started, and I just went in and I punched in virtual summer camp. And it's amazing how many links I saw since COVID-19 started, that all the different, recreational facilities in the mainland is starting to do. It's just something that we have to adjust to. This is a new way of life. No one expected this. No one wanted it. But, we're going to come out of this as strong as ever.
Definitely. Now, moving past COVID, because nobody wants to think about COVID down the line in the future. But down the line in the future, like fall, maybe winter, do we have any new programs, like brand new programs or anything that's upcoming?
Yeah, you know what? One of the most disappointing thing about COVID-19 is the staff. And I always give my staff credit, because as it's another difference between commissioner and assistant commissioners and then going down the line. Because although I participate in these programs, I always make sure I show my support and whatnot. But the actual planning of a lot of these programs, I'm not involved with now. That's probably the biggest part about the job that I miss, not being on the field. I love the interaction with the children and planning the program. But I felt before COVID-19 hit, sports park and recreation was on the uprise. We had a lot of things going. The morale of this department was up. We had a lot of different activities and sport. and Shaq, you know, because you've been involved in some of them. Women's softball took off within the last year. We've had so many women's softball tournaments, and I'm talking about both adult and youth. We had people coming in from Puerto Rico. Kevin Shepard, who runs, one of my youth community coordinators on St. Croix. We had a big tournament that he was going to be doing, I think in June. So that was disappointed for me because the department was really starting to do a lot of good things, and then bam, COVID hit. That kind of slowed that momentum. But definitely when we get the green light to open back up, there was already stuff in the pipeline that we had planned to run, different tournaments, clinics. Sports tourism is a big thing. We wanted to bring in some teams from Puerto Rico and the mainland. So we are not going to have to reinvent the wheel because these are things that my staff already had in the pipeline. It's just to get the green light to start them back. We're going to continue to push, our youth when it comes to our inter-island tournaments. Like I said, women's softball is really on the rise right now. That's one of the sports that's big in the department. But I have a great staff that overall that's trying to do all the sports. We just partnered with Mark Daniel, and we had a volleyball league. So I don't have no doubt that once we are cleared, that we are going to continue what we was doing in the past. We're just waiting for that green light.
Now, one of the programs that really jumped out at me was I saw a flyer for a karate program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's interesting to me because it's not your typical sports park program. But now people forget that the recreation is also a part of sports park. So that was definitely an interesting one I saw from you guys that was released recently.
Yeah, and again, kudos to my district administrators on both islands. When we have our senior leadership meetings, we know the sports that everybody play. We know the basketball, we know the baseball. I try to get them to think outside the box. So karate was one of those programs. We try to do some stuff for the seniors. I told them before the end of the year, I needed them to run at least 3 senior programs. I think, what do you call it? Not farming, planting. Planting was one of the programs that we wanted to run for our seniors. There was several different locations on St. Croix that we had already had designated to do a program with our seniors. We partnered with another group where we had computer classes for our seniors at Winston Ramo, where they would come in and learn how to do, Excel, prepare resumes, just different stuff to think outside the box. We already know the sports that we already do. We wanted to create some new and exciting new things for our youth.
And that's a great way to go. Everybody has an opportunity to be involved in the community. I love it, honestly. Another thing I want to talk about is resurrection of old ballparks. For example, the Smith Bay Ballpark or Freedom Hall Ballpark. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so those are 2 disaster projects that we expect to get funding from. I am very, very close to finalizing our cost estimate of what we're going to get for the Smith Bay ball field. That Smith Bay community is a tight-knit community, and I get the calls from the people that's playing rounders out there. When you going to do some help for us? One of the issues with Smith Bay that I pose to FEMA is we know that when it rains, that facility floods out drastically. So it made no sense to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in the facility unless we plan to correct the flooding issue. FEMA agreed. So we're in the process of going through some mitigation where we're going to get some extra money to address that flooding issue. So definitely Lionel Smut Ballpark, which is Smith Bay, and also Friedenhoy are 2 facilities that we are receiving FEMA disaster money for, that we plan to fix and enhance.
All right. Now, with our existing ballparks, do we have any existing facilities? Do we have any upgrades that are forthcoming?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is going to be Emil Griffith Park on St. Thomas, DC Cannegator on St. Croix. Corwin Terrace also. The biggest change that you're probably going to notice to Emile Griffith Parks are going to be the lighting system. We lost 3 poles from the hurricane. 3 poles came down to the ground. And I told FEMA it makes no sense to put back up them same poles, because if a hurricane comes again, we already know that they can't sustain those hurricane winds. They agreed. We got the money. As you saw in the press release, Emile Griffith Park was awarded some $1.4 million for upgrades at the facility. Our number one upgrade for that facility is going to be addressing the lighting issue. We are going to convert those lights from the high pressure sodium lights to LED lights. I think it was 8 poles that was there. Once it's converted, it should be about 6 poles. But with those 6 poles, we're going to get just as much light, if not brighter, with half the wattage, which is going to save us on our electric bill. And then LED is just a better lighting system. The lights that we have now, we know when they're on. If you turn them off, to get them back on again, it takes you about 15-20 minutes. With the LEDs, you turn them off and you turn them back on, they come back on right away. We already have upgraded the lights on the basketball court. We have LED lights there. That's a big help. But the major upgrade to Emile Griffith Park is going to be the LED lights. There is some conversation about reconfiguring the bleacher system to some kind of stadium seating instead of bleachers. We have to look and see, once the designs are completed, if we can afford that with the 1.4. And then, of course, upgrading our bathrooms so that they're ADA compliance and whatnot. Same thing with DC Connegator. We did some hazard mitigation, not just to the field itself, but the community center. We're going to use that there as a bunker, as a shelter. So they're giving us extra money to upgrade these things. It's my job as a commissioner to make sure that these projects happen. I would have liked them to move a little faster than they're moving right now. And Shaq, I could tell you that as a commissioner, I take full responsibility for that. And I have no problem doing that. But I think one of the problems was when I took over as the commissioner, a lot of the projects that I looked at was missing a lot of information. And once you sign off on that dotted line saying that you agree, there is no going back. So I wanted to take my time and make sure that it was documented right. With taking your time and documenting, it takes longer. But I will take the blame for that, but I rather do that and know that we're going to have something better in the long run than just a quick fix.
And now, while we love and are deeply rooted in our older facilities like Griffith Park, DC Connegator, can we expect to see any new facilities being erupted recently? I mean,
you know the big talk is the Paulie Joseph Stadium. Paulie Joseph started in 2014, 15. That was 2 commissioners ago. I am praying that I will be the commissioner to cut the ribbon for Paulie Joseph Stadium. We went before the legislature a couple weeks ago to get some $8.4 million to finish that project. So I am hoping that there's no more hiccups in that project. But we are not involved in that stage. And I need people to understand that right now with the construction and whatnot, Public Works is dealing with that. And then once it's completed, it'll be turned over to the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation. But Paulie Joseph Stadium is going to be a big boost to the St. Croix community. And then, the governor have plans of a multi-sport complex on UVI campus on St. Croix. I hope, again, I could be the commissioner that's here to see that come to fruition. And then there's some conversations on St. Thomas with a soccer field and a cricket pitch that we're also entertaining.
All right. So you answered some pretty tough questions there in the beginning. That's only like the first half of our interview.
That's not tough. You got to remember, and the thing that made this job, I don't want to say easy, but help me transition into this position is I am an athlete. I played sports from ever since I could remember. I worked on the field. I was one of the guys that actually did programs and whatnot. So it's not anything political for me. I'm not doing anything to get a rise out of anybody. These are facilities that I hope that I could play in and exercise and have recreational activities also. So, you know, I have a stake at it also. And we just gotta get it done.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back with more Between the Lines with Commissioner of Sports Park and Recreation, Calvert White, in a short while. All right, welcome back to Between the Lines here with Commissioner of Sports Park and Recreation, Mr. Calvert White. Calvert, you ready for the second half?
Let's go. I was a better player in the second half anyway. So, you know, I used to start off slow. And in the second half is when I used to have my best game. So
I hope you drink your water and eat your energy bar, whatever you need to finish.
Here's the thing. And I always told people when I played sports, as a player, I always took great pride of making sure that I was in high conditioning. I always took care of my body. My conditioning was always top for me. So at the end of the game, you know, when you're a player that your skill level might be better than me, if your conditioning is not better than me, I was going to rise above you. So let's go. Are you ready for the second half?
All right. Highlight for us some of your sponsored events, tournaments, and leagues that you've had recently and the ones that are maybe upcoming.
Oh God. You know, sponsored events. I and a lot of people don't know this because one, we probably don't do a good job of advertising and publicizing this. And again, it's not about me. But we spend thousands and thousands of dollars to nonprofits, other sporting organizations, and whatnot. Our own programs, you know, but sponsorship. We always give money to teams that travel to the States, whether it's doing the Disney tournament. We're a big sponsor of Little League Baseball. You know, when those teams are traveling, we try to help them out. You know, we get a lot of emails and requests for assistance. And to look at that, I will have to go in my archive, but I could tell you we spend thousands and thousands of dollars assisting organizations with funding.
All right. So where can the parents find the information about these leagues and clubs that are going on?
So we're in the process of trying to get our webpage up and running. It's been a challenge for us. Being a government agency, there's some things that we have to, procedures that we have to follow. One of those things is most government emails, well, not emails, most government websites now have to go through BIT. And we're in the process right now. It's a phased out thing, but we're really trying to get that out. A lot of our information currently is being put out on Facebook. That's why I encourage people, if you're following along, to join our Facebook page. We put a lot of information out there. Any tournaments, anybody that we're trying to highlight, any activity that we have coming up, numbers, programs, we try to put on our Facebook page. And then at the end of the day, you can always call the department. I have some of the best front office people that answer their phone. Those ladies enjoy what they do. So any questions, please feel free to call the department and have us assist you. We'll try our best to answer your question.
All right, moving on. What can SPNR do to enhance the ability and training levels of the athletes that are involved with your activities?
Great question. And you know, when the show started, I said I love what you guys do because you really fill a void in our islands of highlighting athletes, so just sports and overall. At Sports Park and Recreation, Shaq, let's be honest, there's a lot of things as the commissioner I would like to do. At the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to funding. It's no secret, you know, this department has been underfunded for years. A lot of what we do, we have a lot of people that come out to our ballparks and lend their assistance and volunteer. And that's one of the great things I love about our community, because they are always willing to lend a hand with our programs. But we are starting to see, and again, kudos to the staff, we are starting to see a lot more training, not just programs, but training where we are teaching the fundamentals of baseball, fundamentals of basketball, fundamentals of softball. It's great to go out there and just do a tournament and just throw kids out there and say, go ahead and play a game. But if they don't know the fundamentals, or we're not teaching them the game, we're doing a disservice to our children. And we're seeing that right now. You can see at Griffith Park where, you know, Bolo, Richie, yourself is out there working with these young ladies on the fundamentals of the game. It's the same thing in St. Croix. So we want to do a lot more teaching, and that's what we're trying to do. Not just put out programs and have tournaments. Those are fine. We need to do that. But if we want to prepare our athletes, we need to be training them also, and we're trying to get more involved in that.
That's definitely a good avenue to travel down, and we wish you the best, and we wish the community the best in that situation. The procedures for the parks, as far as practices and holding events, how does that work?
So what it is, and this have changed throughout the year with new management. Everybody have their own way of how they see it best to do things. So the procedure right now is you would come to the department. All of this is something that I would like to get online, so you don't have to come to the department. You know, we're in 2020 right now. You shouldn't have to come to the department every time to register or reserve a facility. However, that is the case right now until we get our website up. But any facility that you want, you would come to the department. You would fill out a use of facility form where you would list the facility that you want to use, the dates that you want to use it, and the time that you want to use it. We would check our logbook to make sure nobody else is using the facility at that time. If they are not, of course, we would notify the individuals who manage and work at that facility. What we've done a good job this year is my staff is asking that you leave a deposit so that we make sure that before you leave that facility, you're returning it back to how you received it. We didn't do a good job of that in the past, and people were not doing that. So we have to hold people accountable. But if you turn back the facility how you got it, we return your deposit.
All right, now what can you tell us about the Sports Commission bill? I'm sorry.
Oh, the Sports Commission was a bill that was passed by Myron Jackson. It started with the last administration. I know they have had a couple meetings, but it really didn't get off. We held our first meeting last month. Sorry. And what the Sports Commission is, it's a group of minds coming together to kind of unify sports as a whole in the territory. So this is kind of the blue book that all of sports is going to have to follow and be regulated under. I'll give you an example. We know that IAA in St. Croix may do different things than IAA in St. Thomas, but we are one territory. So those are things that we are trying to bridge the gap. And come up with rules and regulations that sports will be governed on. There's a lot of different sections in the Sports Commission. There's a section in there that talks about Sports Hall of Fame. I think it's time that we start recognizing our athletes of the past and the future and the present. But there's no established Sports Hall of Fame here in the territory that recognize our athletes. And we have some great athletes that have come to this territory, and people don't know about them. So hopefully the Sports Commission can get that going. It talks about sports tourism and how that's going to look. But in a nutshell, the commission is members who are kind of going to regulate how sports move forward in the territory.
All right, so I'm going to give you an opportunity now to take your commissioner hat off and put it to the side, but don't put it too far because you got to put it back on in a second. We're going to talk about Calvert White, the athlete. All right?
The athlete?
The athlete.
All right, then I got to take off my tie then. If we're going into the athlete, then, well, it's after 5 o'clock, so I ain't really the commissioner right now. So we're going to the athlete. All right.
So where did you play and what was it like playing there?
Where did I play? Where? We talking college, professionally?
College.
So I went to Southeast Missouri University, which is a Division I school in the Ohio Valley Conference. And again, I'm touching to live wire again. And the reason why I'm touching to live wire is because you guys have no idea what you do, how it affects an athlete and how a college is looked at or viewed an athlete. When I graduated from Charlotte Amalie, 1993, I gave my age, there was no program such as Live Wire or anyone that showcased athletes. For that point, athletes around that time didn't really get the exposure that they deserved. I kind of locked up, and I'll say locked up because at the time, Holman Harley, who is a local legend, Holman saw me playing on Anna's Retreat Ball Court. And he said, we have to get you off this island. We have to get you away to the States. Of course, naturally, I wanted to play college basketball, but, college coaches really wasn't coming down here to see high school games. We wasn't sending tapes away to the States for colleges to see and whatnot. So again, the exposure wasn't there. So again, what you do, you guys continue doing it because, it have a lot of effect on where athletes go. But I was fortunate that I was able to get up to the mainland and played at a Division I school. I will tell you it was adjustment for me. It was a big adjustment. I remember when I left the Virgin Islands, it had to have been about 98 degrees. And when I got to the States, it was 5 degrees below zero. So you could imagine I was ready to jump on a plane and come back to St. Thomas. But I knew my love for the game and what I wanted to do was so strong that I stuck it out. But yeah, my first year, actually, well, I started at junior college. I went to Southeastern Illinois Junior College, where I was all region, all conference, first team all JUCO. And this is coming from a small territory like the Virgin Islands, where we didn't have a lot of the resources that a lot of the children in the States have. But you know, I went there to prove something that I could compete on that level, and it worked out for me. You know, I was able to get my college degree. You know, my parents didn't have to pay a dime for me to go to college. I was on a full scholarship. So definitely a great experience that I went through going to college.
Now, what drove you to be great at basketball?
You know what? I like most athletes in the Virgin Islands, I actually was a baseball player first. I started off as a baseball player. Left-handed, played first base, played outfield, and pitch. And I would like to think that I was pretty good at baseball. It was a Thanksgiving tournament that was ran by, and the irony of this whole thing, it was a Thanksgiving tournament that was ran by the department that I now oversee, Thanksgiving tournament, that I played in. At that time, I started to grow a little taller, so you know, I started playing basketball. It wasn't a love for the sport. I played it because I could have, but my love was for baseball at that time. And the coach for Charlotte Amali, Pedrucho Estrell, was the one who saw me playing Thanksgiving tournament and asked me to come and try out for the team. I did not play organized basketball till my junior year of high school. Um, I played baseball all the way. So can you imagine junior high, I didn't play basketball. My 9th and 10th grade year, I didn't play for Charlotte Amali High School. 11th grade, 2 years of high school ball is what I played before I went on to college. You know, I'm grateful for Pedrucho Estrell for seeing that talent and asking me to come out and play basketball for the school team. And the rest is history. You know, once I started playing basketball, I put down the baseball and it was all basketball for me.
Now, were you ever able to play at a level beyond college, for example, professional level or on the national team?
Yeah, I did. You know, I relied on my talent a lot, my raw talent, to get me through college. In hindsight, I wish I had took basketball more serious when I was college. I wish I did, you know, took the weight room more serious. I wish I took the individual practices more serious, because if I did, I think I would have had a better shot. In 1998, when I graduated from Seymour, I was invited to the NBA Summer League in Long Beach, California. I played on the same team with Tracy McGrady. But at that time, you know, a skinny kid from the Virgin Islands, went to a mid-major Division I school. Although I was all conference in the OVC, I wasn't standout. I wasn't a standout athlete when I graduated. So it didn't work out for me in the NBA, and I decided to take my talent overseas, where I played 4 years in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, where I had a great career in Europe.
Now, that's something to hear, because a lot of people see Calvert White and they say he's a commissioner. A lot of kids seen him, but they don't know the basketball Calvert White. So that's definitely an interesting aspect for the kids to hear on this show here today.
Yeah, I you know, rather than, you know, playing professional basketball, it was some of the best 4 years of my life. Living in a different country, where, you know, people basically, you know, worship the ground that you walk on. Anywhere you go, people recognize you. You know, I was just comfortable living where I am. After my second year in Rotterdam, I got a offer to move to Spain to play. Appreciative of where there was no need for me to leave. So I played my 4 years in Rotterdam.
All right. Now, what was your go-to move? What was the move that you know you could do right now and nobody can stop?
You know what? At that time, I played above the rim. Anybody who played against me back in the days know that I was a high flyer. Um, and if you couldn't jump up there with me 9 times out of 10, you probably were going to get embarrassed. But you know, the strong point of my game was I could really jump. I was very quick, and like I said, I was in pristine condition. You know, I wasn't the best person in the gym shooting, but like I said, at the end of the game, I know I was going to be in better shape than you. So when you bending over and you holding your knees and you tired, that's when I was going to shine to the end of the game. I don't think I had a go-to move, but you know, I played above the rim.
Now, you mentioned playing with the national team. Did you have any success with the national team?
Yeah, I had a lot of success. You know, my first year in the national team was in 1994 when I first left the territory to go to college. And at the time, I was a rookie on that team, and you know, the seniors, the upperclassmen was guys like Zorro, Charles Claxton was on that team. My first year was the first year that me and Roger Bell, we came in together. Me, Roger Bell, Carl Thomas, Tyrone Alec. We were the rookies on the team playing with these legends like Tarman. So, you know, it's interesting that, you know, to see that, you know, I started as a 18-year-old on the national team to where 14 years later, I was the senior on the team, you know, giving guidance and leadership to the younger guys, the Kevin Shepard and the Cuthbert Victor. So, you know, I matured through those years on the national team. I love playing for my country. We had some great battles. You know, playing on the national team took me to several countries. Argentina, Cuba, Venezuela, Honduras. Where else we played? Canada. We played. I played all over with the national team, so it definitely was an experience that I will remember for the rest of my life. You know, I am still a great supporter of our national team. Anytime they're playing, I make sure I try to be there to support those guys. But definitely the national team are.
And we seem to be having some technical difficulties.
Athletes, playing with professional athletes when we go to these different FIBA tournaments and whatnot. So it definitely helped my game.
All right, now I heard you mention Canada. Can you tell us who this guy is on the screen?
Where did you find that picture?
That's a live wire secret.
Steve Nash. I remember this game like it was yesterday. I think this tournament is in Argentina. We actually took Canada to overtime where they beat us by 3 points, and I want to believe that Steve Nash was the one that hit that shot. Still a friend of mine. We chat back and forth on Instagram every now and then. Great guy. You know, but that's one of the great players that I have played against in my past, and I've played against a lot of NBA legends in the past that we was able to compete with and you know, have a great time playing against.
Can you name any of those great players or the best players that you have ever played against?
I'll tell you. I'll put it this way: the best shooter that I've ever played against was Ray Allen. Quickest person from baseline to baseline, hands down, was Allen Iverson. You know, the USA team that we played in Puerto Rico was that 2002? I maybe have the wrong date, but that team was stacked. I mean, I'm talking about Vince Carter, Ray Allen, Elton Brand, Allen Iverson. Tim Duncan was on that team, and I tell you a great story about Tim Duncan. the day before we played the USA team, I saw Tim at the hotel, and he came to me, and me and Tim is still really great friends. And he came to me and he said, I am not going to play against you all. I said, what? He said, yeah, I am not going to play. I'm going to sit out that game. And so said, so done. Tim Duncan sat down the entire game, did not play against his hometown, U.S. Virgin Islands. But he didn't need it. They didn't need Tim to play against us.
That was definitely a very honorable thing and very respected, I'm sure, by the USVI national team. To have Tim Duncan, a player of that caliber, say that he refuses to play against his hometown, his home country. So that definitely had to be a highlight for the national team itself, for Tim Duncan to say he don't want to play against IU.
Yeah, Tim is a really, really cool dude. You know, when I took this job, Tim was one of the first people to reach out to me, and he was like, you know, Cal, because he didn't call me commissioner. He was like, listen, you know, anything you need, anything I could do to help you succeed in your job, let me know. And if I can help, I'm going to do so. You know, I played against Tim in high school, my junior and senior year. And Tim wasn't my problem in high school. You know, there was a guy from St. Croix by the name of Tyrone Alec, who at that time gave me horrors. I had some of my best game against Tim Duncan in high school. So I didn't look at him as the best player when we played in high school. But he's remained a friend throughout the years. We still talk. He still lends out his help to me. And I'm grateful for him for that.
So who would you say are your top 5 players between St. Thomas and St. Croix that you have played against or that you have seen play? Looks like we have a little bit of technical difficulties waiting for Vaya. Did you hear the question? Do you need me to
repeat that again?
I said, who are your top 5 players between St. Thomas and St. Croix?
You know, I will always tell people, and I'm talking about overall, I'm talking about professional also. When I talk about shooters, I always mention Akil Lewis' name. The guy was just fearless when it came to shooting. I have seen Akil miss 10 shots in a row. And, you know, a lot of people, when you do that, you kind of get hesitant if you want to take that next jump shot. But I've seen Akil miss 10 jump shots in a row and then come back and hit the next 10. He was a fearless shooter. And I'm talking about overall, over all the players that I've played, NBA also, he's top 3, one of the best shooters I have ever seen. St. Thomas, one of the best big men I have ever played with and against is of course, Jabari Brown. I've never seen a guy 6'10" run the floor how Jabari ran. We would be on the national team because Jabari played on the national team with me. And we would do what you call suicides, running back and forth on the lines. And to have a 6'10" guy winning the suicide drills, running back and forth, beating the guards, you know, at his size, he was just a phenomenon athlete. You know, I would have bet money Jabari would have made it to the league. But he's definitely, you know, pound for pound, one of the best that I've played with. I played against a lot of great players locally. On St. Croix, of course, like I said, Tyrone Alec, Tim Duncan. You know, Tim, I'll give you a story about Tim. When we played high school basketball, we would always figure out who we were playing and look to see who we needed to beat to play Central in the championship. It would always be, any tournament that you saw would always be CAHS against Central. We know St. Dunstan, we would beat them all the time. Timmy would give us horrors, but we would still beat them. One time in St. Croix, we had already count our chickens. We didn't take the game serious. Overtime game, St. Dunstan beat us. We were ready to leave and come back home. But definitely on St. Croix, Tim and Tyrone, two of the greatest that I've played with at St. Croix.
All right. We have a very special segment coming up for you right now, Calvert. It's called A Few of My Favorite Things, right?
Mhm.
Want to make a little bit more interactive to make sure we get the real you.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask you about a topic, and you have to tell me your favorite thing or favorite person in that topic.
All right.
Are you ready?
I feel like I should have prepped me on this first. I feel like I'm getting set up right now.
Definitely, you are. No doubt about it. All right. Your favorite athlete.
Favorite athlete. Scottie Pippen was my favorite athlete. I kind of mimic my game off of Scottie Pippen. He was a wing player, played the three, could shoot the ball, pass the ball, dribble, had a total package. I saw myself as that type of player. So definitely Scottie Pippen. That's an easy one.
All right. Your favorite meal.
Favorite meal, salmon. And I gonna eat it anyway. You could boil salmon, bake salmon, fry salmon, any kind of salmon. I eat in it.
And you eating that salmon with anything.
Anything.
All right. Your favorite sports team.
Chicago. When Michael Jordan played, it was Chicago Bulls. Of course, when Tim went to the NBA, it became San Antonio Spurs. I support anything locally. So San Antonio Spurs would be my favorite sports team.
Your favorite hobby or activity outside of sports.
That's interesting.
When sports is your life, it gets pretty hard, right?
Yeah, I sports consumes my day-to-day activities so much. If I would pick one thing outside of sports, and this trumps everything, it's being a father. Playing with the children, that trumps everything. So
I'll take that. That's a really good answer and a very interesting one too. So I'll take it.
yeah.
Your favorite movie.
Shawshank Redemption. Definitely, I've watched that movie probably 50 times. I'll probably watch it another 50 times. But I love that movie.
So that means if it come on 24 hours straight, you still watching it.
I still watching it. Interesting fact. Morgan Freeman, who stars in that movie, is a personal friend. So one of my college professors, and I call this lady one of my moms, because she helped me graduate from Southeast Missouri. One of my college professors is who's actually been dating Morgan Freeman for the past 8-9 years. They've actually been to the Virgin Islands. I've been up to the States to visit them. The last time was just as early as last year, where I went to her son's wedding, where Morgan was there with us. But I love that movie before I actually met Morgan Freeman.
Right. So that definitely had to be like a dream come true kind of thing, because it's your favorite movie and one of the most famous men in the world.
It's interesting because if you meet Morgan, you'll never know he's an A-list movie star. He acts like he's a regular person around you. It's weird to see him in that, because when I first met him, I thought I was going to be this. He was going to be this. I don't really want to talk to you, snobby person. But one of the most down-to-earth persons I've ever met.
And the last one, your favorite sports moment that doesn't include yourself.
That doesn't include myself. When my son was in Pee Wee baseball, we attended the Disney tournament. And I remember us playing, I think it was Puerto Rico, down 3 in the last inning. And I think Kehani is who hit the home run to tie the game. But that whole series of being with those children to the Disney tournament was a great experience. Like I said, that's one of the things I miss about being a commissioner, that I don't get to now interact a lot on the field and be part of the instructions and the actual programs. That's why I try to go to as many events as possible and actually watch them. But I miss the interaction with the children. That I miss.
All right, that's it for a few of our favorite things segment. You survived. Now we're going to the questions from the viewers that they have put in the live stream box.
Okay.
So these, I have no idea what they're gonna ask. So I hope you prepared because I ain't prepared.
No, I tell you this, and I tell people all the time. I have two bosses. My ultimate supervisor, or my immediate supervisor, is the governor of the Virgin Islands, Albert Bryan Jr. But my second boss, and they're actually tougher than Albert Bryan, is the people of the Virgin Islands, because I work for them. What I do is I provide a service to the people. So no question is too tough for me. I try to answer them or address them to the best of my ability. I know for a fact that I can't solve everything. I'm going to try, but at the end of the day, I am not going to fix and solve everything, but we're going to try to address them.
All right, here we go. Is there any swimming programs, sailing programs, or kayaking programs in the work for the youth?
So on St. Croix, we already have an established swimming program. We've had 2 swimming events where we've had classes where we teach both young and adult. The challenge on St. Thomas is I've, for the last 2 years, had an issue trying to find lifeguards / instructors. I don't know what the issue is. People on St. Croix look like they just either love swimming more or they love the beaches more, because I don't have an issue with lifeguard instructors on St. Croix. But I have an issue here on St. Thomas finding qualified people to be lifeguards. So to answer the question, we've already ran 2 successful swimming programs on St. Croix. I know my assistant commissioner have partnered with UVI and their marine program. We was going to run a summer program in partnership with them. Now, this was right before COVID-19, so that then never came to fruition. But we are sponsored, and you mentioned sailing. The department have sponsored. What is this guy name that was in the Olympics? Help me out. If you say his name, I will remember. He's one of the top sailors in the territory.
But it's not coming to mind right now.
And he represented the Virgin Islands in Cy Thompson. Somebody's on there. Thank you, boss lady. Cy Thompson, when he went to the Olympics, the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation was one of his sponsors. So definitely we support sailing. I want to say this. If there is any programs out there that the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation do not run, and there's an entity or organization that runs that program, a lot of the times we don't have, whether it's the personnel or somebody qualified. I don't know anyone on my staff that sails. But if there's a program that somebody else is running and we can sponsor or assist with funding to help that program, that is something that we're willing to do.
All right, so we do have a lot of viewers here on live wire, as well as I'm sure a lot of people are tuning in because Calvert White is here. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna find a lifeguard or somebody to run these programs now that you mentioned it.
I would love that to happen. And like I said, we've had a position out there for 2 years now. What we did was we moved the position from just a lifeguard to a lifeguard / instructor. And the reason we did that, Shaq, is we see that we have a need for lifeguards in the territory. And what we want in our lifeguards to do is actually train our youth coming up. If we could train people to swim, then we could probably have people that's interested to be lifeguards. So anyone that's out there, that's and I want to say a great swimmer, because a lifeguard is a tough job. When you're talking about saving people's life, you have to be a good swimmer. We have had some people that have come to the department and went through the test, but was unable to pass that test. It's a strict test, and like I said, when you're talking about saving people's lives, there's certain things that you have to do. I think one of the prerequisites is you have to be able to tread water for 3 minutes. You have to go and retrieve a 50-pound brick from in the water. It's not easy. So it's something that you have to do before you can become a lifeguard. The last set of people that we had did it. We didn't have anybody pass the test. But if there's anybody that's listening and they can swim, or they think they're great swimmers and is interested, please come to the Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation. The salary for that position as it stands right now is $39,000. And I think we had 2 positions available. So please contact the department if you're interested.
Do you have any plans for the basketball court in Honors Retreat or the McBean Ballpark?
So I've seen that question asked a lot of times. Honors Retreat basketball court is not under the jurisdiction of Sports, Park, and Recreation. That is run under Housing Authority. However, I will say this: if there's anything that we can do to assist housing, I grew up in Honors Retreat, and I tell people this all the time. If it was one of our facilities, that would have been one that I would have already addressed, because I lived on the second road from Honors Retreat. That's why I learned to play basketball. Unfortunately, it's not one of our facilities. I can't just go on Housing and Authority facilities and start doing work and touching it. But yeah, it's not our facility. Alvin McBean, I am still waiting for the cost estimate for that facility. I just spoke to the guy that resurfaces and repaints basketball and tennis courts. He just arrived on the island today. I plan to have a meeting with him tomorrow because it's my intention to resurface and repaint the basketball courts around the territory. I just asked for some $200,000 to be reprogrammed in PFA money, so that I can have money to resurface and repave our basketball courts territory-wide. St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix.
When you spoke about Griffith Ballpark, there was no mention of the concession. Will the concession be upgraded as well?
Yeah, so that's something that we would have to do on our own. Keep in mind that FEMA is only going to give you money for hurricane damages. So if the concession did not sustain any damages, actually I take that back. I know that there were some damages to the shelter, not the shelter. What do you call the thing on the front of the windows? The shutters. So we are going to be upgrading those. But again, we received some $1.4 million. I am not an architect. I'm not an engineer. So I am not involved with knowing the numbers of when it comes to drawings and whatnot. We are going to stretch that 1.4 as far as possible. If it's in there that we can upgrade the concession, we will do that. One of the things that we wanted to do was go upstairs at the concession and make that the office for our employees. I felt like the office in the outfield was too far. By having an office upstairs, then an employee could see what's going on the baseball field, and they can also see what's going on the basketball and the playground. So that's something that we have discussed, going above the concession and moving that as our office, and then putting the outfield as storage. We want to deal with some irrigation. There's no irrigation system at our ball fields, which is a big issue, because times like these, when there's a drought, there's no rain, you can see how brown the fields are. So that's another thing that we want to do, implement some irrigation system within our facilities to keep the grass watered and whatnot, as well as the drainage. I'm tired of seeing rain coming for 5 minutes and then a game is rained out because there's puddle of water on the field. We want to address that to where the water can just run off. Unless it's a real heavy downpour, we should be able to last 3-5 minutes of rain without a game being rained out.
Good. Another question: does the department have plans to establish scholarship incentives for high school graduates?
Well, when it comes to scholarships incentives, you're talking about money. Again, when you look at what this department's budget is for its operations, it's a drop in the bucket. It's if there's a senator out there that wants to appropriate money to the department specifically for scholarship, that's definitely something we would entertain. Like I said, as a student athlete or a former student athlete, although you have your your tuition paid for, there's still other costs. And if there's something that we can do to assist student athletes, it might be as low as $5,000. That every bit helps. I definitely would support something like that.
A question from a basketball fan: do you think we can bring back the Thanksgiving tournament?
Well, we still do the Thanksgiving tournament. We just don't do it out at Alvin McBean. We have moved that tournament into the gym, but that tournament still runs. It's called now. Oh God, what is Froggy's first name? Somebody help me out. What is Froggy's first name? So Ralph, who is Boss Lady? How does Boss Lady know all of these answers? So Ralph, Froggy, Lorena, well, she would know. Froggy tournament has been dubbed the Thanksgiving tournament. We have now moved that tournament from Alvin McBean back to the gym. I am a great supporter or component of moving that tournament back to Alvin McBean. That's where it started. That's where I got my start. That was my first organized basketball game. But we still run the Thanksgiving tournament. It's just called the Ralph Froggy tournament.
All right. If you can change anything looking back about your basketball career, what would that be?
Man, I would have hit the weight room more. I think that was my problem when I went to the NBA League in Long Beach. Like I said, I would always use my quickness and jumping ability as my advantage. I never took weights serious until I got to Europe. But then when you got to the NBA Summer League, and then you're seeing people that's same height as you, if not taller, playing the same position, just as they're able to move you and push you around. I was at a disadvantage. When I got to Europe is when, coaches were like, listen, we are paying you to score. We don't want you to do anything else than score. After my first couple games, the European game is a physical game. They let you get away with a lot more in Europe. And that's when I took lifting weights really, really serious. The body that I had in Europe, if I had that when I graduated from college, my chances would have been better.
What advice do you have for the young athletes to help them to stay course with sports and put the school books first?
Well, first off, without books, you're not going anywhere. College is to a point now where they're asking you to have a certain GPA. As a student athlete, there's responsibilities that you have to live up to and keep up to. So it's always going to be, education is always going to be first. I knew that I wasn't going to play basketball forever. I made sure I got my degree. My degree was in sports management. I knew what I wanted to do. And I was fortunate that I was able to go to school for sports management and able to get a career for what I went to school for. You see a lot of people that end up going into a different career than what their actually degree is. I was able to get a job using my degree. And then take your thing serious. Take it serious. Like I said, I love playing basketball, but I don't think I took it serious in college. When I started making money and I started getting paid and it was my job, I took it more serious. But if you want to be a professional athlete, you have to do all the thing where, the late night practices, the eating right, taking care of your body, listening to your coaches, your whole attitude, if you're serious about the game, those are all things that you would have to do together to make it happen.
Are there any coverings being ordered, or tarps, as we should say, for the infields on the various parks, like how they use in the MLB?
You know what? My assistant commissioner mentioned tarps to me. When we looked at tarps, the original one that we looked at covered the whole infield. the thing that people don't realize about those tops, if you look at when they roll them out, it's about 30 people going along that roll them out. So we looked at what would be more cost effective and then employee effective at the time as far as covering, whether we want to get the ones that just cover the bases, they cover the base, home plate, the pitcher's mound, or we wanted to get one that cover the entire infield. But again, funding is something that hampers this department. But it is a conversation that we have had about protecting the infields when rain comes or we're not using the field.
Does SPNR, Sports Park and Recreation, keep stats for the games that you guys govern?
For the games that we do, I know. Well, no, Little League keeps their own stats. They have parents and whatnot that does that. I know my district administrators is starting to get more into the stats. And Lorena is there. She's one of the best when it comes to the thing. But all of those are things that we want our employees to get trained in. Stats is something that anybody could learn. It's more moving the game into this new technology wave. But I know my district administrators is tasked with that happening. I think that's going to happen. Again, anything that anybody outside and, Lorena, if Lorena wants to submit a proposal to teach my staff, educate them on stats, those are things that I'm willing to get my staff trained on. And I could tell this little story. When they had the FIBA tournament and I don't know the year, in Tortola, I had the responsibility of looking for individual to keep stats for FIBA. These games are highly documented, and when I say documented, your stats needs to be on point because these, FIBA is a worldwide organization. I specifically reached out to Lorena and her sister to go to Tortola to do that, and I could tell you when they left there, the guys who was leading the scorers table, they didn't want anybody other than them doing the stats. So I know she knows what she's doing. I'm glad that she was able to assist in doing that. But she's one of the best when it comes to doing stats for basketball in the territory.
Are there any plans to have a community gym that kids and players can just go to have some place to play basketball or volleyball as well?
You know what? A lot of the gym. Well, first of all, the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation don't manage any gyms in the territory. Mm-hmm. That's all under education. But I have a really good working relationship with the Commissioner Rackaberry and education. One of the things that the governor wanted, and he said in this meeting, is he wanted the gyms them to open back up for the intended use for our youth to use them. So I'm hoping that happens. But we don't have any gyms that we manage. I know there's an individual that kind of played around with the idea of bringing something like a YMCA here to the territory. If that happens, that would be big. But I think as a government agency, we are willing to look in or partner with any business that can add to recreation outside of what we do. But a YMCA in the territory, and anybody who knows YMCA in the States, or LA Fitness, these are the facilities that people, go on a regular basis.
Do you have any sort of database that would contain all the sports organizations in the Virgin Islands in case you need to donate or promote something that they're doing?
Yeah, that's something that we are working on to put on our website. One of the big issues that I have seen, not just as a commissioner, but when I was the assistant commissioner, is sometimes you'll see 3 and 4 sports organizations that are having events on the same day. That shouldn't happen. What we want to do is create a sports calendar that kind of highlights, you can go on there as an organization and see, Shaka already is doing his baseball tournament on the 20th. So I shouldn't be scheduling my volleyball tournament on the 28th so that we're conflicting. Now parents have to choose which event they want to go to and whatnot. But to answer your question, a sports calendar is something big that we want to put on our website, so that we don't not duplicate, but compete against each other when it comes to sporting event. A lot of our children that are playing baseball are the same children that are playing basketball and playing volleyball. We have some of the most athletic people in the world that play multiple sports. And then when you have sports competing against each other, it causes a problem. So a sports calendar is something that we definitely want to get up and running.
All right. Would you consider working with Livewire Sports to get sports more exposed in the VI since they have stats, provide video footage, and live action?
Say that again.
Would you consider working with Livewire Sports to get more sports exposure in the VI since they have stats, provide video footage, as well as live action?
So I will go on the record as a commissioner of sports, park, and recreation, and I think I spoke to, and I don't know if it's Shane or somebody, but if you guys would send a proposal to cover Department of Sport, well, not just Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation, the sports as a whole in the territory, that is something that I would be willing to sponsor in the territory.
All right, we will definitely be in contact for that. Mr. Commissioner Calvert, we would like to thank you for coming on our show tonight. You are very informative. You got the stuff out to the public that we wanted to know, that they needed to know to move forward or not move forward with the sporting industry right now. We got a lot of updates. You did a great job on here today. Thank you.
Like I said, contact the department. St. Thomas is 774-0255. On St. Croix, it's 773-0160. Please add us on Facebook, Department of Sports, Park, and Recreation Facebook page. Everybody in the community, we welcome your suggestions. We welcome your criticism. My job can't get better unless I know what we are not doing right or what we need to do more of. We provide a service to the community, and if there's something that you guys want to see more, call the department, let us know, because we have to work together. A lot of the times when I get or hear stuff in the public is the people them calling me to tell me something happened, and I appreciate that. It keeps me honest. It keeps me doing my job. But I am very grateful and thankful for the staff that I have. And I'm talking about territory-wide, all of them. And I don't care if you're on the field, you're in the office, you're picking up the garbage. I don't know where you guys getting these pictures from. But I saw an article in the newspaper yesterday highlighting my sanitation workers, and that made me feel good because it shows that the community appreciate what those guys are doing. But we're gonna get better. My staff has bought in to the vision of the department. They want to see this department succeed. Like I said, the morale is up. These guys do a lot of team building stuff together on both islands, both districts. They do a lot of team building where you see all of the employees come together and they'll pick a facility and they'll go and address that facility together. They do that in St. Croix also. So we're working together. I could say this is the most I've seen my employees communicate inter-island in a long time. You always used to see, St. Croix doing their own thing, St. Thomas doing their own thing, St. John doing their own thing. What we want to do is bring everybody together. but we're one department. We're working together. We're going to try to get these facilities back up and running, and get sports back at our facilities.
All right, once again, the Commissioner of Sports, Park and Recreation, Mr. Calvert White, thank you for joining us. You are a great guest. Next week, our guest is going to be Senator Jovan James. He will be right here on Between the Lines, ready to speak to us about the Sports Commission, as well as what goes on inside the Senate as far as sports are concerned. All right, so once again, next week, our guest on Between the Lines will be Senator Jovan James. Before we go, we want to shout out Leo Sibley, aka the Third, for our intro track, which is called Born Ready. It is on all streaming platforms, so wherever you find music, you can find his single. It's called Born Ready. Listen to it, share it, download it. Thank you again, Third, for our intro track. Also, we want to thank Devante Anthony for the Live Your Life headwear. We definitely appreciate that. Keep up the good work. Again, his name on Facebook is Devante Anthony, and the brand is Live Your Life. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Between the Lines. We'll see you guys next week.
I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, whoa, whoa. Effort on Billboard ready. Whoa, whoa. Effort on Billboard ready. I'm doing great, even though every day's not fine. But still I woke up today, another day to get on my grind. Got me singing, whoa, whoa. Effort on Billboard ready. Whoa, whoa. Effort on Billboard ready.